What actually matters on dating apps? Well, the answer to that is looks, looks, and looks. Hello everyone, and we are back. Welcome to my channel and hope you guys are doing well out there. The topic of today's video is going to be why dating apps are not made for guys like you. And when I refer to you out there, I'm talking to all of you who are, you could be the average guy, you could even be experiencing things like hair loss, you could also have decided to just take everything off like yours truly. Now the point of this video is not to rant about the apps, but to perhaps give you a different perspective and pivot this channel towards a more holistic direction instead of just talking about the details of hair loss. So let's jump right into it. And the first point is going to be, like I alluded to in my intro, which is going to be the fact that looks is really all that matters on apps pretty much. Now this is not only due to the fact that people have very low attention spans these days thanks to platforms such as TikTok and other short form content platform copycats. The deeper problem is actually an economic one. As someone who has a background in economics, I actually find this pretty interesting. Now the two main drivers that a lot of people tend to cite is imperfect information and monopolistic competition. In terms of imperfect information, this is the idea that you don't really know as much about the other person, whether they have faked their pictures, whether they are a decent person to be around, just by looking at a profile which sometimes is really sparsely or minimally filled out. And that creates this kind of information asymmetry where the person or the owner of the profile knows more about themselves or the product than the potential buyer, which is of course the person who is going to match or not match with that particular profile. And the other economic concept is the idea of monopolistic competition. Now this is actually a market structure thing which describes the scenario wherein there are many sellers of almost similar products and near zero barriers to entry. This is the kind of environment you are going into, and this is the kind of environment that you're going into on dating apps, especially when there's a surplus of males over females. I'm assuming that most of you are guys watching this video, that is. On top of all of this, because of the imperfect information issue that I mentioned earlier, there's also potentially adverse selection. For example, you might wonder why people will need to rely on an app when in person is all the rage these days, with interest groups popping up left, right, and center, and even going viral. And if you think from these videos that, oh, it's only guys getting salty and fed up with women getting all the options, believe it or not, girls are tired of these apps as well, with meaningless and superficial conversation or hookups without any further prospects being key reasons cited by not only my own female friends, but people across the internet. So the second point I'm going to make is something more relevant to this channel, which is going to be the fact that if you are losing your hair, this becomes even worse because you could look okay from a distance or some angles or in the photos that you put up on your profile. The problem comes when you actually meet in person, and then you have to do this whole covering up act, especially if you're trying to cling on to your hair like I was doing in the past few years. And that actually is you playing the adverse selection game that I mentioned in my first point and being the one who's hiding away information from the other person. So in doing this, interestingly, you're kind of contributing to the problem. One interesting thing though is that, after I buzzed off my hair and took a few photos around Bangkok, posted them online, I was actually surprised to find out that I was getting better results from this, because while some might like the look and more may even hate it, at least it is polarizing and different, ergo it is different from all of the other options out there. And a lot of times, from my own personal experience, it tends to act as a filter for more mature women, literally or figuratively, if you are open to that. And at least you're being upfront about yourself and therefore not running into the same kind of circumstances as you would in the first case, where the problems start coming when you have to then go out on a date. But looks is just one factor that would make a date go wrong. And that brings me on to my third point, which is that there is no sample selection or screening allowing you to shift your odds of finding someone who is suitable for you and who you are also suitable for when using all of these apps. To illustrate my point, I'll be using the example of interest groups as a comparison. In these kinds of meetups, you get organic time spent with a whole bunch of people at a meetup that you may not have met before. Plus, you might also tend to filter for those who are like-minded or your type. For example, if being active and being fit are important physical or psychographic traits that you value in a partner, all of these events will filter for this kind of people and therefore make your probability of running into someone among this subgroup who is suitable for you and is also interested in you back that much higher. If you imagine a normal distribution curve, you're kind of just shifting that distribution around and increasing the probability of finding an eligible match for you. But of course, that was just just a really simple comparison, these meetups may also suffer from the same problem. So I'm actually interested to try them out and use a data-driven approach to decide what works best and most cost efficiently. Perhaps it could be an interesting experiment to run on this channel anyhow. So do stay tuned for that. If you like this video, do remember to leave a like and consider subscribing to this channel. We're going to be coming up with more of such broad topic content that may be relevant to you as well. That is all from me for now. With all that being said, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.